Stephen vows that he will find a way to restore the family's lost fortune. At first, he tries land speculation. He and a group of his associates go to what would someday become the site of the capital of Arkansas Territory, at a place known as the Little Rock. He tries to corner the market on Little Rock real estate before the town even existed. He fails in that venture, plunging him even further into debt. In near desperation, young Stephen, now 25, decides to make a clean break with the past and sort of a clean break with his father, and move down the Mississippi River to New Orleans. Now, we are still in the midst of a terrible depression. He arrives in New Orleans and writes home to his mother saying, there are hundreds of young men here like me who would be willing to take any job if it would provide them a roof over their heads and a meal to eat. He finds work at a newspaper, but it's only part-time and doesn't pay enough even to live on. But then Austin's luck changes. He meets a man named Joseph Hawkins. Hawkins was a former United States Congressman from Tennessee, not wealthy but well regarded, and Hawkins brings Austin into his own home, allows him to room in the Hawkins home. Hawkins begins teaching him law in the Hawkins Law Office, and they develop an almost father and son sort of relationship. Hawkins would be an important figure in Austin's future life. In the meantime, Moses has hit upon a daring new scheme. Taking a page from his playbook earlier in life, 20 years earlier, Moses hits upon the idea of traveling to Spanish Texas, presenting himself to the Spanish governor of that province, and proposing the establishment of an American colony in Spanish Texas. He follows through with the plan, makes the long several hundred-mile journey from Missouri to Texas, arrives at the governor's office in San Antonio, presents himself to Governor Antonio Martinez, who immediately suspects that Moses is a spy, American spy or worse, and orders Moses to leave immediately. Then he relents and says, okay, first thing in the morning. Moses dejectedly walks across the plaza to his lodgings there, and as he walks across the plaza in San Antonio, one of history's fateful chance meetings takes place. Moses is walking in, and he passes a man on the street, and they sort of look at each other and maybe seem to recognize one another, as you often do if you see somebody you can't quite place them. And finally says, don't I know you? And it turns out that the man was a man named the Baron de Bastrop, who was a Dutch immigrant 30 years earlier to the Spanish colonies in North America. And they had, in fact, met in New Orleans 20 or 25 years before. The Baron, who was not really a baron, his name was not really Bastrop either, but he had lived in Texas ever since the Louisiana Purchase. And he brought Moses back to his quarters, and as the night went on, Moses explained to him his scheme, and the next day, the Baron took Moses back to the governor's office, used his influence with the governor to persuade Governor Martinez that Moses Austin was on the level. He wasn't an American spy. And before the day was over, the governor had agreed to endorse Moses Austin's plan for bringing 300 American colonists into Spanish Texas and settling on land outside the boundaries of the established Spanish settlements.